Okay, so welcome back. I haven't been here for 2 weeks, so it's good to be back. Um, we decided that this will be our last class before Pesach because Thursday is Rosh Chodesh and then it's 2 weeks to Pesach, and it's a bit much for everyone. So we'll come back after Pesach. Not sure exactly when that is, but let me just check on the calendar. Let's see what after Pesach will look like. Pesach, yeah. Anyway, we'll post it. It'll be the Sunday that makes the most sense after Pesach. All right. I see Miriam has posted a question. I'll read the question and then Mila can decide where we're going to go with this. Through the illumination that shines, if you could explain briefly to clarify, please, he is divested of his essence, is my question. Which paragraph are you referring to, Miriam? 15. Okay, in paragraph
Yeah,
15.
15. It's more or less midway. No, like the first third of the way. It's I have clarity. It's just understanding the process of going forth and retracting, and that whole process of that movement of the spheres. And so I'm just wanting a little bit of clarity about that particular idea.
Right. What he is saying is that, I don't know if you've noticed, but what he's trying to do is he's explaining us, still answering the question of the philosophers about the unity of Hashem. How is that Hashem is unified? Okay, so what he's doing here is let's read this passage, right? Val yidei ha'ara shemir alav, and through the illumination that shines upon him. Upon whom? We're talking about Malach Michael, right? So we're talking about these two entities of Malach Michael and Malach Gabriel. Okay, and each one of them are quite bold and opposite of each other, right? Malach Michael is fire. I'm sorry, water. Malach Gabriel is fire. These are Chesed and Gvura. And we might think that, oh, it's a division. It's a division in godliness, right? It actually refers to Shem Elokim, right? Elokim is plural. Wow, that's it. Now it's a source for idolatry, right? There's Malach Michael is a very important guy in creation. Malach Gabriel is an important guy of creation. And if you look at it, yeah, isn't it? I mean, all of love coming from Malach Michael. Wow. I want to have good relationship, good standing with him. Malach Gabriel is like, ooh, and that's why Kabbalah is, exceptionally dangerous if it's not used properly, right? Because, Kabbalah Masis allows us to have access to these angels through different names of Hashem and writing all kinds of kameyas. And I'm sure people practice it left and right everywhere. And I'm actually a witness of quite few people standing outside of the Mekubalim's door. Write me a letter, I don't know, to Metatron that I should have more parnasa, more this, more that. You know what I'm talking about? And then this rabbi will just write this little thing, little parchment, and da-da-da. I mean, what's the danger of it? You might think like, hey, this is Yiddishkeit. This is part of Yiddishkeit. The danger of it is that where's Hashem in this? I mean, you kind of like left Hashem out, right? And you're discussing with his ministers all the dealings that you want to have, right? So in the consciousness of the person, he is like, I don't need Hashem. I'm dealing with malachim. Big deal. You see the problem? The problem is that they separate in real times the malach and the flow, the source of the flow. Okay. So what Chassidus is doing very, very consciously, this is the main thing. What we are studying right now, it's like the pulse of Chassidus, right? That's why it says it's like it's a key for Chassidus. It's like the main, the vein. Like this is where everything is streaming from. Okay, these concepts. They're like, no. Malach Michael and Malach Gabriel, they're only koach hachitzon. It's only the external power. They don't have anything on their own. They are nothing. Okay, and moreover, they can't even make peace between each other. Okay, live alone, give hashpah to the world. Okay, and how are they actually giving the hashpah of the world? So that's exactly what it says. Al yidei ha'ara shemeir alav, and through the illumination that shines upon him. Okay, mibchinas kli hapnimi de chesed de bria, from the inner vessel of chesed of bria. What's in the vessel? We already know it's Malchus of Atzilus, right? So they have absolutely no independence whatsoever. Okay, the kliya chitzon, the kliya pnimi of bina, al yidei kli ha'emtzai, through the intermediary keilim, who nivshat mimohusai. In order for him to do anything, he has to let go of his own metzius, this malach. Okay, so the malachim are pulsating as well. They have to go into the state of bittul. Okay, v'nichlal b'bchinas elokim hapashut chulu, and they have to be included in a simple divine mentality. B'chayus elokim, I'm sorry, into the divine vitality, right? B'chayus elokim hapashut, the simple one. So they are more complex already because they're kliya chitzon, right? Although they are general koach, but they are more complex compared to the chayus. Okay, and therefore they have to let go of who they are. The same way how our organs. Can you imagine, Miriam? I'm going to tell you, I don't need Miriam. I'm just going to talk to your heart right now. Okay? No. I'm just talking to your nose right now. I'm just talking to your hand right now. Like how ridiculous that would be. Can you imagine somebody sends you a note and says, I'm interested in making an appointment with your toe. Yeah, like people are just gonna laugh, right? Like nobody talks this way. This is how ridiculous it is to appoint and make like, go to a makubal and tell him, okay, write me a kameya, okay, that Malach Gabriel should, I don't know, send Gevura to Pliny Almaini, okay? It's like, you are ridiculous. You're really summoning a foot of Hashem to have a discussion with. Like, hello, like, relax. Like it's just something is so bizarre in this idea. But yet there are thousands of people doing it. I'm telling you, like go to different communities and people, like not religious people, will have like long lines outside of this mekubalim, and have this whole conversation with them. And they're not thinking about maybe like improving their relationship with Hashem. Understand? Like if we see the relationship with the Rebbe, let's say, it's a completely different relationship. I've never wrote somebody like, blah, 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 I don't know, summoning kind of angels. I'm sure he does that too. Okay, but it's not the relationship that the Rebbe built with his chassid. And what did the Rebbe? The Rebbe connects a chassid with Hashem. And what the Rebbe says, check your mezuzahs, I don't know, light candles, give tzedakah, right? What are the points? Because through the fulfillment of the mitzvah, you build that relationship with Hashem. And that's the core. Forget about the angels for the moment, right? This is the core because you want to go to Hashem. You want to go to his essence. That's where the Jew belongs. Okay? The Jew doesn't belong having a relationship with Malach Michael. Oh, the flow comes through Malach Michael. Big deal. And then you dissect who is Malach Michael. It's clear chitzon, ta-da-da, right? So that helps you put things in a right perspective. Instead of thinking, oh my gosh, this is Malach Michael, okay, and I have to have bittul to Malach Michael. Nobody has to have bittul to any of the Malachim. They're like my organs. Can people have to have like, I don't know, bittul to my heart? No, it's me. Everything is Mila. Whatever you see right now in front of you, this is Mila. It's not separated. My nail is not a separate entity. It's part of my organism. And who is speaking right now? Who is speaking right now? My body speaks? No. It's my essence speaks right now. It's coming through my body, but my body is not a separate entity. My body is a piece of meat. It's not, it doesn't have like let's say when the neshama leaves the body can just get up and have its own entity, its own identity. No, the body, that's it. It's over. Right? So it's the spirit. It's the neshama that speaks. Right? It's we are forcing, and these are the later chapters of Tanya, where the Rebbe went at length, you do chitas, right? So the Rebbe went at length explaining what happens when a person does an Aveira. We're literally schlepping the powers of the soul into this garbage when we do an Aveira. Because animal soul doesn't have also any independence. The core comes from the essence of the soul. So we're literally bringing this pure state into this mud, So it's not like, a body has its own thing. The body doesn't have nothing in a creation has its own thing. Okay, so when I see this Meshuggah on Kingston Avenue screaming at me or screaming at anybody else or see crazy events, right? In the background, we keep that nobody has freedom of choice, even Tucker Carlson. Right? It's like absolutely nobody. And we saw what happened. This guy out of blue, a couple of weeks ago, says something about Chabad that completely took over the internet. Everybody went nuts about it. This is till today people are talking about it. And if you think about it, like what happened to him? He just told the truth. I mean, is there anything what he said was not true? I'm not talking about his kavanah. He says, you know who's running this whole thing? It's Chabad. Don't think that it's IDM. And who do you think in Chabad is doing it? It's the Rebbe. That's it. It's a klipa observing what's going on in the world and thinks, oh, it's Bibi. On button. It was unbuttoned. It thinks like, oh, it's Bibi. It's IDF. It's this. It's that. He points the finger on essence. And he says, don't fool yourself that it's something else. It's Chabad. Isn't it this is true? Isn't it that this is the Rebbe, that this is Chabad movement making things happen in the world? Yeah, you figured it out. Apparently, they know more than half of the Jewish population. And the funny part is that Satmar came out with a statement after this statement, which is the most hilarious thing out of all Jewish communities. Satmar, it's like the thing, They came out, that's not true. It's not, we all Chabad. That's completely, I don't know if you found, we were like, wow. It said, why Chabad is taking all credit? We are all Chabad. But can you imagine what's happening in the world in general? It's crazy. And it's beautiful because Satmar, out of all Hasidic groups, I mean, if you know politics, okay, you know exactly what I'm like. Like Satmar. And then you're like, whoa, this is like intense. I don't know what happened to the world. I mean, he said something he really stroked on the nerve that it made this whole ripple effect. Because you think about it, one anti-Semite said something on news. Okay, big deal, right? But it was a big deal what he said, because he said the truth the way it is in a very blunt way. He said something that people wouldn't even say anything. He even said, oh, and some of his followers believe that he's a Messiah. And that was like, half of Chabad just took a big gasp, like, oh my gosh, our secret is uncovered, all these inside wars that we have been doing, it's like, oh my gosh, it's like being, and, and some of us, went apologizing and, no, it's really not the whole Chabad. It's, it's only those crazy ones, and so on and so forth. And whatever. So what I'm trying to say is that they don't have their own identity. Well, they have their seeming identity, but who is inside everything in creation is Elokim, is Hashem. And that's what we're studying. We're seeing how everything is Hashem. Because Chassidus answers only two questions: how everything is Hashem, and how Hashem is everything. This is basically Yehuda Ilah and Yehuda Tata in 2 sentences. And this is what we're doing. So it seems like, oh my gosh, it's complicated, but just keep in mind that he has one goal. Rabbi Hillel right now has one goal, is to show how everything is bottled to Hashem in the end. And you'll see, like, he'll make a long circle and he'll come to one conclusion. He'll give us many, many details, right? When you read this sentence, it's a kli hapnimi de chesed de bria al yidei kli ha'imtzai, right? It's like a lot of words. But just like put it in a line, do yourself a favor, and then you're like, oh, this whole long line is bottled to the higher, and that is bottled to higher. This is bottled to higher, and then you'll see what he's trying to do is it's like putting a Lego pieces in a way, and showing you how it's all bittul. So why you think he does it in such a long way? Because our brain thinks differently. Our brain needs a very nice, neat system to understand things, right? We cannot understand things from cholent. We get a piece of cholent, and then you just poke with your fork. Oh, this is bean. Probably that's a lime bean. Oh, this is piece of meat. You separate, right? So you want to understand what is you being served, right? So once you have that, as you can see, my kids need me. 1 second, give me.
So Miriam, are you there? Did it answer your question?
Yes, in a very kind of broad way, it did. I mean, I would still, I think that I would ask if the attributes of those Malachim, Michael, and Gabriel, if they are an example of the other, like angels, or what would you call them, like powers that are in all the 10 spheres. I mean, so what I'm saying is that basically it's just, Rav Hillel was just giving us an example of 2, of Chesed and Gvura.
Right.
But all the other spheres have got that same neshama that is coming from the Malchus.
Right. So he gives us the example. My question was more like he gives us the example in Bria, and those are but in the other worlds there are also Malachim.
Are they are they all different names for each of the spheres?
Well, it's a good question. If he doesn't talk about it, I can't tell you that I know for sure. We know that Malach Michal is a source of chesed, and Malach Gabriel is gvura. There are at least two other malachim that we know. Raphael is for refuah, and there's another malach that doesn't come to mind, but where I don't know if Malach Raphael is Tiferet. I'm not sure, but we stick with what he's giving us the example of. I guess I don't know if you're asking. You can ask Mila if she knows. Is Malach Michael only in the world of Ria, or is it also in the world of Yetzirah? And Asiya,
He's
or are they different
operating.
names?
No, he is operating on the level of Bria. But you see, but that doesn't mean he cannot manifest himself in Asiya. It's coming from. It's like, imagine it's a river flowing, right? It originates somewhere, but then the flow continues.
Right.
In
the other worlds, we do know that the the nature of the angels is different. We talk about it in the Shema, before the Shema, the different levels of angels.
Right.
And those are the angels in the three worlds. But he's not really going into much detail about it. I find that in general, it's useful to, there's enough to try and understand from what he does speak about, and not to venture out too much to what he doesn't, and try to understand just, at least starting with the pshat of what he's saying. So he's using that as examples, certainly, yeah, because there are others. Yeah. Mila, do you want to go on to chapter 6 of paragraph 16?
Yeah, I think that's we could do that. Again, I think it's important not to kind of get fixated on understanding like everything before moving forward, because sometimes moving forward helps us to understand what we don't understand in previous paragraphs. So we're just going to move forward, and we always could go back and review things if we need to, but he's definitely expanding. We need to move on. Let me just share my screen. Okay.
Do you want to make it a bit bigger?
Yeah, let me see.
The recording.
Yeah. Is it good?
Yeah, that's good.
Okay. Venim to move on Mikol Hanal. And from everything, what we discussed above, it is understood. Sheyesh b'chinas or ha'eloki de Malchus de Atzilus hamitlabeshet b'biyah shnei b'chinas. That in the godly light of Malchus of Atzilus, when it's enclosed itself in the biyah, two levels. B'chinas chayus, the aspect of chayus, שזה בחינת המלכוס המתלבשת בבחינת פנימיס הכלים דכתר דבריאה, בכלל ובפרט. בכלל, right? That this is the aspect of Malchus of Atzilus, the way it gets enclosed in the pnimis of the keilim. That we know, right? So now he's going a little bit detailed. That aspect of Malchus of Atzilus that encloses itself in the pnimis keilim of the Keser of Bria, in general and in particular, in 10 spheres of the Biyah, b'chol yud spheres the Biyah, b'pnimius hakelim shebahem, in the inner kelim of them. Okay, this is one aspect. And the mashal we gave, hamashal azehu b'chinas chayus hanefesh b'guf. This is the mashal that we gave is the general vitality within the body. Okay, from the heart. Remember, he said like this is general power that's given to the heart to pump and nourish the entire body. This is one aspect. And the second aspect, ubchinas koach, and the aspect of koach. So not only the Malchus of Atzilus controls, in a way, the pnimius keilim, because you see, with the information that we were given before about lamed keilim of Atzilus, dividing, becoming the pnimius of every single world, blah, 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 all that, right? Not only that, but pnimius, the Malchus of Atzilus, affects the creation, but also on the level of koach. And what's koach? Is the chitzonius, right? Remember, or sayut and koach. This is the system that the whole of creation works. And you could literally find anything where your eyes falls, it's going to follow the structure. This is like, I would say, the fancy word matrix, yeah? The matrix of creation, right? Meaning, this is the system, how Hashem created, well, right? It doesn't changes from any of the creation. There's only one thing that is different, that goes and doesn't go through this ishtalshelus. Can you take a guess what? Miriam, yeah, it's one thing, only one thing, that is not subject to the Seder Ishtalshelus.
Either neshamot or mitzvot.
Hashem is out of the system. It's not
No.
I heard that Miriam's voice. You're muted, Miriam.
Sarah's saying something. Mila.
Is in the Shabbos a mitzvahs?
I said either neshama, the neshama of a Jew, or the mitzvot.
You close. It's warm. I'm going to play a game with you.
It's what? It's what?
It's warm. It's not hot. You know, warm, cold, hot. When you hide an object in the room.
Oh, yeah.
It's warm.
Torah, the Torah. Getting colder or warmer?
Yeah. Colder.
I want to guess the body of the Jew.
Warm.
The Jewish people.
Exactly. A Jew, right? A Jew is part of creation, okay? Now, it's the neshama and the body. That's why for both of you, I said, well, it's a Jew. It's not just the neshama and it's not just the body. It's the whole metzius of a Jew in this world. It's mamish unbelievable, but there are like some, even the last Dvar Malchus, what you read, where the Rebbe like repeatedly says, Selek Eloka mimal mamish, it's not only for the neshama, it's the essence of the Jew that gives birth to the neshama and gives birth to the body. Okay, that's what has everything in it. Okay, and it's fascinating that it's above, it's literally above of creation. That's it. It comes into the creation, but yet it's not part, it's above it. There is absolutely nothing in this world, nothing, even Torah, even the mitzvahs. A Jew is above it. Torah and mitzvahs are part of creation, but there's an aspect of a Jew, which is Jewish essence, that's above it. Above Torah mitzvahs. That's why a Jew can do tshuva after not following Torah mitzvahs. And this is that's what they're triggering. They're triggering the essence that allows them to do tshuva. So anyhow, this is it, right? But now we're going through the ishtalshelus, right? It's like knowing, the system helps us to understand and appreciate the place and the makor, where are we truly coming from? You understand? Once you see the whole complex situation of this creation, and you understand where Jew stands, it's a whole new dimension. It's like Reb Levi Yitzchak of Berdichev. I think I told the story to this group before, where he was newly married and he wanted to go and learn by Mezrich Magid. And it's classical, right? His father-in-law didn't let, and he went anyway. And when he came back, he asked obviously permission from his wife, and she was very happy about it. Anyway, so he comes back, a full-fledged chassid, and his father-in-law looks at him. He's like, "No, what did you learn? Like, you learned something new." He was a scholar. He was Talmid Chacham. He was a tzaddik. And he said, "No, what did you learn in Mezrich?" And he said, "Well, I learned that there's a Hashem in the world." And the guy was like, burst laughing. He was like, "What are you talking about? That's all? You learn Hashem in the world? Well, you don't need to go so far to learn such a simple thing. Even my maid knows it." So he calls in his maid, and according to one opinion, she was Jewish. According to another opinion, no, she was not Jewish. But she was a very simple woman. And he says to her, "Do you believe that there's Hashem in the world?" And she said, "Yeah, sure." And then he looks at his son-in-law, who just spent like, I don't know, a few months in Mezrich. He's like, "What's your story?" And his son-in-law says, "Well, she says there's a God in the world. I know there's a God in the world." So it's like, wow. That's the type of knowledge, that truly is being built through Chassidus, right? That it's not just an intellectual perception. It's not just knowing this whole Kabbalistic machine of creation, but actually sensing godliness in the creation. And that's what happens through study, meditation, through before the davening meditations, where we feel the chayus of it, right? And then through the davening meditation, where we feel Hashem, right? Now, what does that remind it to you, right? It's about koach, chayus, and or, right? You see, it's the same three. You all the time will see three, okay? 3 dimensions, 3 layers all the time in the creation, right? It's Elokim, Havaya, essence, right? It's like whoever learned Tefillah Moshe, right? Rebbe talks about these 3 things. And you'll see this 3 popping up. So do yourself a favor, study them well and try to notice them. So now we're going to go back now, Malchus of Atzilus, that is going into 2 aspects. One is on the level of Pnimis keilim, that we know. Now he's adding a new dimension, and also of b'chinas koach, also an aspect of koach. Shehu or Eloki hamislabesh b'kli hachitzon deketer debriya ubifrad b'kli b'kol b'chinas hakeilim hachitzonim diutzviras debiachu. And now it's a must open brackets again to explain. And who is this b'chinas koach? It's the aspect of the light, godly light, hamit labesh, that encloses itself, the kli achitzon, in an external keilim of the keser of bria, and specifically in all aspects of keilim achitzonim, the external keilim of Yutzfiris, the bia, hulu. You're like, whew. He has to make sure that this koach, it's not an independent thing. Who is koach? It's or Eloki, hamislabesh. You see, he's like fixed on this idea to explain to us that it's like, no. This koach is or Eloki. Okay, and through this, we the coming the drawing down of the hishavus, right? And the mashal is who koach hapoel ha'oise. And what is this called? The mashal. The mashal is the power that does a new movement that was explained above. So now let's look into this. For example, like I'm moving this way now or this way, right? Or this way. Let's say I'm going to make a new movement like this. Let's say, right? I'm crossing my fingers. Okay. All the possibilities of these movements were included in my power of movement. There's no chiddush there. I'm making a new movement. But any variations that I'm going to make already included in that power. I cannot do something that my hand is not programmed to make. My hand cannot see right now, right? Everybody good with that? Anybody saw with their hands? No, it's impossible. Within this prism of creation, my hands can only do movements. That's it. That's its limit. My eyes could see. My eyes can also move. Okay? My mouth speaks, but it could also move. So meaning there are some koach, some limbs can do many functions, and some can do only one. Very specific. Okay? So, for example, my nails, they cannot move, but they can grow. You see? So now within the creation, there are the same layers of what the particular koach can or cannot do. It's a system. Okay? So now that particular movement, although it might be new, but it's truly not new. It's maybe the first time that a child learned to clap, let's say, right? He never did it before in his life. But that was included in the possibilities of movement that is included in this power of movement that he has, right? So now, what does it teach us? That truly, there is nothing new. It's all included in possibilities. Oh, it's new right now to the eye, but there's no hischat. He doesn't do, when I move in a new way, I'm not doing anything new. That was included. That's the only way I could possibly do. Meaning all variations of possibilities and the range of movements was all included in that power of movement, right? So now, in creation, what he wants to say, that Malchus of Atzilus is a control freak. It's also in the level of koach, she's mislabish, not only b'pnimis keilim, but also in the koach. So what does it tell us? Who is Malach Gabriel? It's Malchus of Atzilus. Who is Malach Michael? It's Malchus of Atzilus. In disuse. Okay, so we basically have Purim all year long. Okay, where Hashem is dressing and undressing himself in all kinds of things. Okay, and we're playing hiding of a seek. That's all. That's why these two things are the most popular in kindergarten. That's all what kids love to do. If you leave them alone with a bunch of costumes, that's what they will be doing all day long. They never get bored of it. Because that's what they sense that Hashem is doing with them all the time. So this is not independent powers. They are nothing. Nothing of creation is an independent power. And that's why this is a famous story of one of the hostages. I think that she was this Russian lady that her son was held hostage. Okay, and they called her, and they said, "We have your son, blah blah blah. He's in our hands, and you have to go to wherever everybody was protesting, and you have to protest that they should release him, blah blah blah." You know the story? And then she said, "You don't have my son. My son is not in your hands. My son is in Hashem's hands." That completely blew the keilim, and this was when they couldn't say anything, and they said, "You are right." So can you imagine the deepest of klipa of our generation, right? Acknowledge that truth. And I was fascinated that she knew that truth. That her child was actually released. I don't know his name. If anybody here could say who was, which of the hostages was it? But she knew. And I don't know how from she is, but she doesn't need to be from to know that, because a Jew on the level of essence knows that who is holding all of us is Hashem. Nobody's there. There's literally absolutely nothing in creation exists, but it's only Hashem. That's why this one tzaddik, yeah.
Okay. No, I thought maybe you finished. I wanted to ask a technical question. Relatively technical. It seemed to me that in the previous paragraph, he spoke about chayus as being the inner vessels, but we know as chayus as being the intermediary vessel. Or I do. Maybe I didn't catch up yet.
I mean, I see that, but what he wants to do is he leaves the whole chayus situation out. Do you understand? Like he speaks of the pnimis keilim, and he's not doing derech prat. Like he wants to explain one aspect, that from the inner until the outer, it's all Malchus of Atzilus. Because he first had our brain to agree up until now that Malchus of Atzilus is the pnimis of keilim. That was the conclusion of what we spoke up until now. But now he expands it a little bit. And we kind of felt comfortable with this idea. He explained it for this, We're like, okay, fine. My brain, I don't know about your brain, agreed, fine. The pnimis is Malchus of Atzilus. Now he says, you know what? Let me go a little deeper. I'm going to go into your brain a little bit more. And I'm going to stretch. I'm going to add another detail there. Do you know what? It's not only on the pnimis keilim, but it's also on a chitzonis keilim. Okay, if he would said that from the beginning, he would shatter our brain. But we're not ready for that. So he says slowly, right? He says, okay, now pnimis keilim, and then you should know it's also the chitzonis keilim. So he uses the language of chayus. Why? Because when you say or, to my brain means nothing. I don't know what's or. I don't experience or. We truly do not experience the level of or. Because remember, he even then said, that's why we give a mashal of the sun and the candle. Because truly, nobody really has an experience of or. We don't feel it within our system. Chayus, we feel very well. Do I have energy? I don't have energy. Do I have chayus? I don't have chayus. It's even in our language. Where's your chayus? Right? Like, we don't say, where's your or? It's not, we don't talk this way. Like, it's not a human language to say, where's your light? I mean, we feel the light when people just shine, but these are more sophisticated people who feel energies. Okay, but I'm talking about for the rest of us who do not see energies of people or auras of people. Okay? We are dumb in that. So he speaks to human beings. Remember, he speaks to farmers. Reb Hillel, right? So he's like, okay, let me use the language. I'm sure maybe there is more to it, why he's jumping into chayus, or maybe he's just taking a shortcut. Because what do you think if koach is coming, is Malchus of Atzilus, what do you think chayus is? Alachas kama v'kama, right? So it's automatically is included in this discussion. But why is he really not distinguishing between or and chayus in this? I don't know. This is just my speculation. Why he's not.
All right.
מבחינת הכלים החיצוניים דיוספירס דביחולו, ועל ידי זה נמשך עיסאוויס המשל הזה, right? מכוח הפועל עושה פעולה חדשה, כנ"ל באריכוס. Okay, this is the movement. Next. אך גם לשני בחינס אלו נצרך המשל. But you know what this is? For these two aspects of Malchus of Atzilus, we need mashal. The or Hashemesh or Haner. Now we understand. Or Hashemesh or Haner. And now you know what? He completely shattered all of us.
Mila, sorry.
Yes.
A question and maybe a dumb one. Can you say what, again, just summarize what are the two aspects of the or Eloki of Malchut Atzilut?
Right. It's on the level of Pnimis keilim and on the level of Chitzonis keilim.
Okay.
Pnimis keilim we knew. That was not new to us, right? He told us, he opened the paragraph about Lamed Keilim of Atzilus being Pnimis of all the worlds. Right?
Okay.
That we knew. That was not Chiddush. But the fact that koach is also, whoa, right? That's like something new. But now we're ready to accept it. So if something was b'pnimius, also b'chitzonius, because people could say like, okay, but pnimius is all Hashem. But chitzonius, people have free choice. There is no free choice. There is no free choice. There is a sikh of the Rebbe, where the Rebbe says, even our averes, Hashem wants us to do. It's Hashem doing it. So we have zero responsibility over this.
But at a given point, it was our choice. Hashem knew that this is going to happen.
Doesn't matter. He
said
it was a setup, Sarah. Rebbe clearly, bluntly, I could show you the sikha. It says it's a setup.
How does it reconcile with Bchira of Shit?
It does not. We truly don't have Bechira Choshes, simply because the only reason why a Jew could sin is because of concealment. Hashem conceals himself to such a point that a Jew creates an Avera. That's it. It's very, I mean, I know it sounds like, oh my gosh, it's a ridiculous idea. It's a fact. Jew cannot sin. Imagine Har Sinai. Hashem is revealing himself on the level of Har Sinai. No Jew is sinning on that revelation. I mean, it's impossible. We see Hashem in his fullest revelation. Why would you want to sin? I mean, you're a nutcase? No Jew is a nutcase. Your essence shines. All what you want is Hashem. That's it. And you have him. Why would somebody think about an Avera? Avera comes when we forget about existence of Hashem. When we take this world as a reality and we say, oh, it's a truth. I have to steal. I have to lie. I have to kidnap somebody. I have to eat treif because otherwise I'll die. Whatever. Or tivus, or I have to do this thing. That's all comes from the lack of revelation. So who is at fault here? Hashem, reveal yourself, your nation will not sin. Why are you going into hiding? That's all. Yeah, the answer is very simple. And I think that you feel the frustration of the Rebbe in Tafshin and Aleph, Tafshin and Beis Sichos, where the Rebbe is like, okay, Hashem, you know what? We did it. That's it. It's over. Reveal yourself.
It sounds to me like the Rebbe was, when the Baal Shem Tov built an unusual sukkah that had all the kind of shilas to exonerate all the Yidden who maybe didn't have perfect sukkahs. Maybe the Rebbe in that sikha was also kind of, taking all Yidden off the hook. Of course Hashem could reveal himself and there wouldn't be Averas, but still, I thought there is still some level of our choice.
It's the choice because we truly have no choice. When Hashem conceals himself, we do not have a choice. But the way we act.
Yeah,
can you really punish a child for being abandoned in the desert? Okay, and I don't know, and whatever else he did there. Why was he abandoned in the first place? Your parent take care of your child.
Mila, that's a tremendously. Mila,
you want to test? Okay, so then, yeah, you want to test the child. Test, his maturity. So take also the fact that, could be the outcome.
Mila, this is a tremendous limud zchut on the people. But when I am saying, should I, me to myself, go right or left, I do have a choice.
Oh, for sure. Listen, that should not give permission under no
Yeah.
circumstances for people to act like animals. I'm not saying that. I'm trying to say is that, for us to understand how come a person could come, and even ourselves, when we look at the past,
In the past,
you
yeah,
see,
but right
in the
now, at
past,
this given
you see, like,
moment.
why did I do this? How come I did that? Well, because Hashem was concealed in your life.
Right.
So now that's why when the Rebbe says that a true Geula Pratis, okay, will come, and also Geula Klalis. By the way, we have a big chunk of Lebanon now, right? It's amazing. Okay, and they want to sit down to have a discussion. That's the latest news I got from Shabbos. Okay, that's great. Now, when we're talking about, so the Rebbe in the Sicha talks that he says, don't worry about your midas. Okay, that was a big thing, the big critical thing. Like, what do you mean you're going to do avodas hamoichin? You're going to stay only in the intellect? You're going to be blah blah blah. But Rebbe is saying something different. Rebbe says, you know what? How much can you work on your character when you don't have enough ore? Do you understand? For example, I'm going to give you an example. Quite clean person. Okay. I'm a quite clean person. I'm organized. I don't, there are some people, they constantly, I don't know, messy. I try to keep, things organized. So I decided, whatever, it was a nice weather. So I took my laptop outside to the backyard to work there because it was quiet. It was nice, beautiful, sunny day. The birds were chirping, blah, blah, blah. I said, I take it. I was horrified to see how dirty my computer was. I'm like, wow, Mila, like, that's gross. I never noticed that before. Why? Because I work indoors. You cannot compare the light indoors to the light outdoors. You might think like, listen, I have a big window, and I do. Anybody who came to my school building, we have huge windows. It's still not enough. The illumination of the sun outdoors, it's a different level. I saw all the specks of dust that was on my computer, every single one of them. Okay, what does this mean? The more light you have, the more you will notice things. Okay, what does this mean? So what the Rabbi is saying, do avodas hamoichin. Okay, don't worry about fixing your midas, because truly, when you're truly able to fix your midas, or midas are going to be fixed automatically, when you're going to have an ample amount of awareness of Hashem, you will not want to sin. There is no place for sin when there's a revelation of Hashem. Like, it's the same way. Sin is, in a way, where is Hashem? It's a cry from inside. Where is Hashem? I mean, we'll look at the Avera that the Yidden did about Chet HaEgel. But if you go into the deep psychology of what really happened, it was a cry of Yidden for not knowing what to do. It was a state of confusion. They had no idea what to do. So what do you think they did? They went to the old paradigm. Okay? And in the act of doing the golden calf, they actually said very loudly, we want relationship with Hashem, in a very clumsy way. But that's the essence. That's the essence of what actually happened. And if you look at the Parsha Kisisa, that's the argument that Moshe Rabbeinu has with Hashem. You cannot punish them for wanting you. That's what they wanted, what Hashem wanted to do in the end. After he said, I'm going to destroy them. No, I'm not going to destroy them, blah, 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 the whole story, right? He says to Moshe Rabbeinu, you know what? You go. I'm going to send my malach with you. I'm not going to be among them. What's the argument of Moshe Rabbeinu? He says, what do you think? Why do you think they did a golden calf in the first place? Because they thought you were not among them. So you're going to punish them with the very essence of why they committed the sin. And Hashem agrees with it. He says, you know what? Yeah. Maybe I'd like it to have Moshe Rabbeinu, who could really articulate to Hashem the pnimius of our kavanah, because we ourselves probably were so perplexed after doing this. But yeah, so it's all Hashem.
Can we go back to the text and keep
Sure.
questions?
Sorry.
Write your questions down. I mean, it's
No,
good.
it's just a comment, and it's totally, you're right. Sorry.
No, write it down. You can talk about it afterwards, but just want to try and get the flow of the text as well.
Second. Yeah, sorry. So Agam l'shnei bechinas elu nitzrach mashal, right? For these two aspects, we need a mashal. What in mashal? Agam shechayus Eloki nimshal lechayus hanefesh. That although the chayus Eloki is compared to the chayus of the soul, baguf, shemechaye b'shifoi, right? That gives life as it flows, meaning in its flow, it gives the life. Koach Eloki, and the same way, the godly power, nimshach lekoach hapoel ha'osu pe'ula chadasha, like the power of the action, right? That does the action, the new action. Mitzad shebeiz bechinas elu, the chayus v'hisavus lo yamtze bechinas or. But in this, seeing these two aspects of vitality, right, and the coming into being, are not found in physical light, right? That's why, if you remember, that's why we gave these mashalim in the first place, because in the or of the sun and in the or of the nener, we don't see that they give life. The sun is not enlivening me right now by shining at me. Okay, so that's why we needed to give the chayus. If you remember, we're going back to a few paragraphs. But at the same time, mikol mokom en dimayon leor ha'eloki lebchinas chayus hanefesh v'koach hapoel. Nevertheless, the godly light, you can't really compare to the chayus hanefesh and koach hapoel. In which way? Chayus hanefesh malubash beguf v'lo yochol lehavshit es atzmo mimeno. Why is it? There is a shortcoming of the chayus eloki. Why? For the vitality of the soul is enclosed in the body and cannot remove itself from it. Okay, for example, right now, my soul is invested in my body. It cannot just go ahead and invest itself in another body. Okay? V'kein koach hapoel pu'ulosoi lo yochol lehavshis es atzmo mimeno v'lislabesh b'shas ma'aseh b'pu'ula acheres im lo sheyafsik milifoil. And the same way is with the power of my hand to move. It cannot, at the time of the movement, to do another movement. For example, I cannot move my hand right and left at the same time. It has a limitation. Now, masha'enkin or eloki, but it's not like this in the godly light. Remember, the philosophers, the questions of the philosophers. Hashem is not caught up in creation. like my soul in my body, or the power of movement in my hand. It's not caught up like this. And therefore, we need another mashal, which is the mashal of the light. Masha'enkin or Eloki, Hagam Shu Malubash B'chinas keilim pnimim v'chitzonim d'yut sfiros d'biyah l'hachayos v'l'havos. Although Hashem, we all see from now, right, that He's fully manifested in the creation. And He is enclosed in the keilim pnimim and chitzonim of the yut spheres of the biyah in order to enliven them and to sustain them. But nevertheless, Hashem is in the actual act, is completely separate and removed. So He is fully manifested and completely free. Until He is able to be caught up in a completely different pa'ula. Kanal realizeb chatzat halayla ditzes mitzrayim shuhu niguf v'nirfa, right? As we see, as we discussed above, right? The proof for that in chatzat halayla, that split second, Hashem was able to kill the Mitzrim, right, and heal the Yidden. So He could do two opposites at the same time. Okay, He's not caught up in this. Okay, and truly, in detail, it resembles the light. Because I could shine. The light is shining. Okay? Through red windows, through all kinds of windows, meaning the radiance is coming out in opposite directions. It's not caught up only, you know what? If I shine on Mila's windows, I cannot shine on Neria's windows. I'm sorry. Like 5 minutes, we're going to turn take. Okay, so everybody's going to have sun today. So we're going to have turn taking. Which window I'm going to be shining. Okay? If a sun is shining, you open your window, the sun is going to come. Okay? So what we need to think of the godly light is like all 5 things. He is like the light of the sun. He is like the light of the candle. And He is like chayus in the body. And He is like koach benifal. All these 4 mashalim happening at the same time. You understand? He is unlimited like the sun, and He shines at everybody, blah, blah, blah. But He also permeates and He unites like the sun of the candle. But He also enlivens like the soul enlivens the body. And He is also very particular that particular organ, not only general, but in particular. You get it? So that's how versatile the light of Hashem is. And there's no mashal for this. Which thing you can think of that has all these 4 properties? Only Hashem. Only you. Okay. ולכן אין שינוי כלל באור האלוקי אפילו במדרגה היסר האחרונה המחיה מהווה שהוא בחינת מלכוס דמלכוס דעשייה. And therefore, when we like pull back now and we look more from our perspective, we see like, hey, sun doesn't changes because he shines on my window. Sun is the sun. It's like shines. The same thing is with moon, with any luminary out there. They don't change because, oh, I got caught up in the Mila's house. I'm sorry. Release me, please. It doesn't work like that, right? The sun shines and goes, shines according to the schedule. There's a 28-year schedule the sun has. That's it. Can somebody change that? Try. Right? Nobody could change. There's no technology will ever be invented in the world that could change the course of the sun. Okay? So that's what we're talking about. The sun does his own thing. But imagine the light of the sun doing all these things. Okay. Even without doing, people worship sun, right? Apparently there are pagan religions that worship sun. Now you understand why they worship sun. Maamar, Ani Hashem lo shiniti, as Hashem says, I did not change. Ubchinas ani, ubchinas is galos Shem Hashem, and the aspect of ani, who is ani? Me, is the aspect of the revelation of the name of Hashem, shubchinas amalchus datzilus, which is the aspect of the malchus of Atzilus. Vayirida lemata mata afilu betachtias olam ha'asiyah, even to the lowest level of the world of Asiyah, which is what? What is the lowest level of the Asiyah? Come on. No, klipa is the dirt. We see our religion is fundamentally different than Christianity, because Christianity believes in duality, believes in God and devil having as an independent power, and the guy constantly fight between each other. Okay, that's what they believe. That's the core belief of Christianity. Man, the good wins. We are such a complicated religion. We look at clippings and we say, "You Hashem, you Hashem." You just don't know about it. You Hashem. You nullify them like this. They're nothing. They're non-existent. Somebody told us a story in 770 yesterday. I was fascinated. There were two stories. So, okay. Story number one. There was a woman that she was a criminal by doing documents to all the people to leave Russia. You know those criminals? Okay. Oh, you were there, Sarah, right? I want to tell the story. Okay, isn't it? That's amazing.
I actually knew the lady.
Oh, you knew the lady? Okay, so she was doing all kinds of things. And her daughter said the story about her mother. And basically, she was caught up. They stopped the bus where she was on, and they told her, we know that this and this lady, that's being on search is on this bus. You see, they didn't have WhatsApp, they didn't have pictures, they didn't have a lot of things. That's what pretty much saved her. So they took all the people on the bus, took it off to the police. So they go to the police, and she also went there. And now they had to make searches one by one to determine if this is her or not. Obviously, they knew, I guess they put all the women, unless they thought it was, they didn't have these problems in olden days. Because I guess they released all the men, whatever the story was. And now they were looking, and what do you think she's doing? She took out her mirror, and she took out her makeup, and she started putting on makeup. Her eyelashes, she's putting her lipstick. So they looked around and they thought like she's, we're talking about in how many days? How many years ago, there was not a common practice for people just do these things, okay? In public, she's sitting in police office, putting on her makeup. So they thought that she was, whatever, but she was not the woman that they were looking for. Okay? She was not there. And they released her. Okay, and that's it. And she obviously went into hiding, because the following stop, they stopped the bus because they already obtained her picture. So she was smart enough not to continue on her journey. So then the other woman said a very similar story about the Rebbe Rashab, where he was sitting and learning, and there was Sfarim on a table. And the Chassidim were very nervous, because at any moment, communists could walk in and see the Sfarim. This is like a direct evidence of your crime. And people could go to jail, and they didn't feel comfortable with that. So what did Rabbi Rashab say? Rabbi Rashab sensed the nervousness. And then he said, you know what? When you stop thinking about them, they stop existing. Can you imagine this? Kalipa exists only because you are thinking about it. You give metzias to it with the energy of your thoughts. Stop thinking about it. That's it. And it will stop existing. It's such a beautiful thing. Actually, it was like another bucket for my river of change, because this is exactly what this is. Your thoughts really create the reality that you're in. Stop thinking about these communists, and they will literally shrink and shrink and shrink and will stop existing. And to me, made a big connection to why the Rebbe is pushing for avodas hamoichin, because this everything originates is in your thoughts. If you're thinking all day long about Malchus of Atzilus, enlivening the Klichitzon and Klitata and and you are thinking about God all the time, who do you think is going to be revealing himself? What do you think, what reality you are revealing in your Dalet Amis? The reality of God, because that's what you're producing. If you are producing this in your thoughts, you are broadcasting, and anything that comes about will be produced with your thoughts, and you're going to be attracting the right people, the right moment, in the right circumstances, and the right flow. If you're thinking about Hamas, you are giving power to them by watching the news, by thinking about it, by discussing it with other people, blah, blah, blah. Okay? That's exactly what Rebbe Rashab said. In one sense, stop thinking about them. They do not exist. It's not me saying, it's the Rebbe saying it. And there's another story, how people were escaping the German thing. That's Hannah said. And it was also a beautiful story. He was escaping. And he decided, the Chassid decided that he's going to keep a thought, ein od milvada. And they were on escape. And they literally saw Germans. But Germans did not see them. I guess he stumbled over something. I don't know exactly what happened. The thought vanished. And he face to face met with a German. It's about miracle stories of Chassidim. It's unbelievable. And the German was shocked all of a sudden to see a Jew in front of him, because they literally did not see. Okay. So then he said, the guy writes with his effort, he made a very great effort to reconnect with the thought, ein od milvada. And it worked again, Baruch Hashem, and he escaped with his family. But if you think about it, this is like, wow, this is like profound. I am impressed with the power of thought of this guy. I have to tell you, I need to find out who that is. It was just like came as in a conversation. But this is like a very strong thing. We give metzias to this, so that when we study about this, this is what the metzias is going to open up for us. Okay. So Hashem did not change, although he is pretty much invested in every detail of the creation. But he did not change until the klipas, right? The klipas are created by Hashem. And even the klipa and the other side, maamar, like it says in the Ragle Hayordes Chulu, right? Like the maamar that talks about the feet that descend. And he gives them life, and he enlivens them and brings them into being from nothing into something. And even in this aspect, and shinoi klal, he absolutely doesn't change. Why he doesn't change? Because it's like the or. I was like, wow, can you imagine? Hashem just shines. He remains completely exalted in his own essence. And yet this whole situation we call universes, the creation is being created, sustained, enlivened, fully under the Hashgacha Pratis. Okay? And Hashem consciously aware of every single speck of dirt, because he makes sure that right now this piece of dirt that's on my screen continues existing, okay, coming from Ayin to Yesh, and yet he didn't change. And nevertheless, from this light, gam chayus his house, coming into being, the vitality in his house comes from koach. And it's not like oragashmi, not like physical light, that we do not find from the physical light any vitality or coming into being. And therefore, we need the two analogies, right? The vitality of the soul in the body and the power of the action into whatever, koach hapoel. I don't know. You know what? I have such a hard time translating this word. We're going to call it koach hapoel, okay? Just for the... That's it. Yes, we did chapter 16, paragraph 16. We're going to do chapter 16 too. I don't know what you're experiencing, but I don't know, for some reason, for me, it snapped me off my morning depression. Like sluggishness, like, they changed the clock, and now I sleep 1 hour less. I was like groomy doomy this morning. But now I feel definitely a chayus with these amazing news.
Mila, I had a question at the end of, actually when you weren't in the class, like 3 weeks ago, at the end of paragraph 13, he says almost the opposite of what he says now at the end of this paragraph. And
let's read it.
It was not clear then what that, somebody asked me, like, what is the meaning? And I was like, I have no idea.
Oh, so he's saying that, yeah, for this koach ha'etzem, you cannot find.
Right. No, but just the very last sentence.
Yeah, for the koach ha'etzem, you will not find the mashal, and you could not really enclose it. Okay? Because the question is, how can you do that? There, in paragraph 13, the question is, how can you do this?
No. So it's not that. It must have been another one. It's not paragraph 13. Yes, I have to have a look. It's where he says all of this is part of the, maybe it was 12. He said almost exactly the opposite. Does anybody remember of what he just did now, where he said you need the mashal of the chayus and the koach, and there he said you need the mashal of the or. Let me see if it was, I don't think it was 12. Okay, I'll have to find it somewhere else. But it's almost like a reversal here of what he said before.
I remember him mentioning when he introduced us to this whole form of mashalim, he said, well, and the light is not enough.
No, okay, it's later than that.
It's the end of paragraph 11.
Oh, okay.
Let's go to paragraph 11. כי בנפש יש כל הבחינס, רק שאינם ניגלים בנפש, ולכן צריך להבינם במשלים אחרים. Okay, good, right.
Can you just share the text? Do you see how it's almost the mirror opposite?
Saying that in the nefesh, we also have the aspect of or, but we don't see it. It's in the brain, how the brain operates. We cannot really see what's happening. That you know, now the brain, when it sends messages, right, let's say, it doesn't become hands. Do you understand? The brain is an organ that sends, or for example, not only the brain, let's say chaya and yechida doesn't get enclosed in the body, but yet they are the one, the nefesh, ruach, and neshama, right? They don't have their own. It's not like a neshama is is a separate from Yechida and Chaya. You understand? But we again talking about the same thing. Do you know how your Chaya looks like? Can you really check how Chaya shines on the body, but not really getting caught up? No, that's not a good mashal. Because in the neshama, we have Yechida and Chaya, right? That also shine like light, but we have no experience with it. So how is that going to be a mashal? So we're going to talk exactly the same language as we talk about Hashem enlivening the world, but yet we cannot touch, we cannot smell, right? At least with my chayus, I could put here and feel the pulse. Do you understand? Something concrete. My movement, I could move my hand and understand the mashal and the nimshal. But with my yechida and chaya, I'm like, I don't even know who these guys are. Where are you? Hello. You understand? I don't have experience with them. It's a super consciousness. Now with a sun and a candle, oh, I see how they work. And some because a mashal has to be something concrete from my day-to-day life. And I could hold it like I'm holding my credit card right now. It's something tangible. I cannot. Chaya and Yechid are not good mashalim. That's what he's saying here. Gam b'nefesh also we see this aspect of or. But where is it? Can I smell my chaya? Can I smell my Yechida? Well, I know my neshama when I think. Okay, I could become more aware of my thoughts. I could become more aware of my emotions and the chayus in my body when I dance versus when I'm sluggish in the morning. Yeah, this is something that I have experience with. I don't have experience in such a tangible way with my yechida. So that's why we need it says over here, the light in the brackets, you see, chaya and yechida. Right? So I don't have experience with chaya and yechida. At least not day to day, but the candle, a sun, I have everyday experience with them. It's something that I could look at, something that I can touch. No, I mean, I cannot touch sun. I'm not claiming for that, but I'm talking about at least sun ray. I could enjoy the warmth of the sun ray and could understand the concept that if my window is dirty, I'm not going to have enough sun. And if I'm going to put a shade, the sun is not going to go through. Meaning these are practical examples and mashalim that I could play with in order for me to understand the light of Hashem, the properties of the light of Hashem, because that's the goal of the mashal. The goal of the mashal, that I see how it works, okay, and understand the principle, and based off that, build an understanding of how it works in the high world. For example, a river. I mean, we're talking about Ukraine. Who doesn't know how the river flows? They know exactly what the river is. Because any normal city always was built around rivers, right? Because that's survival, where you get your water from. People didn't have all these technologies to dig a well and all that. If you notice, like historically, the population was mainly around the rivers. So that's a perfect mashal. Yeah, you go on a river to wash your clothing. So you'll understand an idea of a flow, because you see flow. I mean, people who live in large cities, they have to go, I don't know, on a trip to understand this mashal. That's something that they could do. They could pick up themselves and go and see how the river works. Okay, you could go and see a mayan. For example, we lived in Samarkand. When we used to go on a hike, we saw thousands mayanim, not thousands, but at least 11, 12, 13 mayanim throughout a hike. We would see mayan here, mayan there. And then a few kilometers down, they build a river together. But it was like a live So
he's saying there at the end of that paragraph that within the nefesh, you have nefesh, ruach, neshama, chaya, yechida. You think that's what he's saying? And that's...
Nefesh is in the soul. In the soul, there are all these aspects. I don't think here when he says nefesh, he really means the aspect of the nefesh of the soul.
But that he, just prior to that, he was talking specifically about the nefesh, about the koach.
Nefesh that rests in the liver, in contrast to the spirit of life, ruach hachayim, that's in the heart, called the level of ruach, is the aspect of chayus. Okay. And the level of neshama in the brain is the aspect of or, but it is only the aspect of or pnimi, the inner light, and not or makif, because or makif is chaya and yechida, as explained above. For this, the nefesh there are all these levels, but I still don't think that he means, again, I'm not going to say for him, but in the context, I mean, these words are interchangeable. I mean, just because there are 5 names for the soul, he's not now gonna, so what is he supposed to use when he uses general term for godly soul? So he's gonna make, you know what I mean? Like, it's just, sometimes they use neshama, sometimes you see they use ruach, nefesh.
Hard to know.
Yeah, it's very hard to know when they really mean all 5 levels and that particular level versus,
That's
I mean,
what's kind of
it doesn't
confusing.
mean, but he definitely says very clearly here that the soul is not a good example for or makif and or pnimi. Because even in the brain, let's say we're going to take or pnimi. Do I know how my brain works? I have no idea.
Right.
So what am I going to do? I mean, now neuroscience are going wild about how brain works.
Yeah.
But I mean, we're talking about 200 years ago. What did they, I mean, science had zero knowledge about neuroscience. From philosophy and from spirituality, they knew some segments of, power of thought, more like esoteric aspects of it. But physicality of the brain, who knew how the brain works? The first operation on brains were after the World War I. During the World War,
there was a lot of knowledge about anatomy, even going back to the Renaissance, because they would open up bodies.
No, for sure they knew, but to understand how nerves send the signals and all that, I don't know, I'm sure they did, but it was not like we know now because of the technology that we have. It's like they didn't have a machine to measure brain waves. So they knew that there is somehow a way how the brain communicates through the body. I'm sure they were able to see that, but did they know exactly how? No. So therefore, it was marshal for the farmer. What the farmer knew about it. That's what I'm trying to say. The farmer had no concept of sophisticated research of Avicenna. You know what I'm talking about? Like what they knew. They knew nothing. They knew sun. Yeah, sun is a good example because they had everyday experience with it.
So, to go back to, since we finished, I just want to comment. We can turn off the recording or we can just leave it on. But I was looking into the 3 gidei, like the 3 veins that we spoke about. Going back to paragraph 11, actually, we're talking about the mashal, not the nimshal. And I saw there that if we say that the gidei adam, which are the capillaries, which is the koach, then they are very small. I don't know. They're not very. I don't know what you call them. Gidei, like they're small openings that go into all the details. The artery is taking the blood away from the heart, and it's a large pipe. It's a large sinor that's moving the blood in a general way, and we know that's the chayus that's connected to the heart. Then, if we were to say the gidei hargashot is the nervous system, so it was interesting to see there what the nervous system is, according to AI Google. So it says that it's got nothing to do with blood. the nervous system does not deal with blood at all. It's the connection between the brain and the body, mainly down the spinal cord and then into the body, and it's in the form of electrical pulses. So it's a completely different system than the system of blood, which in some ways makes sense because it's like the difference between chayus and koach, which are very much enlivening and involved in a very gashmiut way. And light is a very different function altogether. The way that light functions is very different than the way that, the blood functions, that something gashmiut functions. So I just thought that was interesting. And I was looking into, I think it was paragraph 14, where he talks about the movement between the chayus to the inner vessels, which would then be the nervous system. And I wasn't sure how that, kind of adds up, how the arteries, the blood in the arteries would be included in the nervous system, because that's kind of what it seemed he was saying, is that chayus is this intermediary space where it's going from the source and it's channeling to, from the inner to the outer. The chayus is going in between those. So it was, you talk about trying to understand the mashal in order to understand the nimshal. So,
well, we know how what's the connection is, because if the nerve is a pathway to show where chayus needs to go. Because when there's a nerve damage in a particular tissue, the blood will not flow to that area. It's a signal to where to say, this is where body ends, and that's till where you need to nourish. This is the part that the brain thinks it's me. And it gives a command to the heart to nourish up until that point. It's like, this is my town. I'm a director. This is my town. And I'm giving to my chef where he needs to send food to. And I have these checkpoints that, in a way, put like a gather, like, this is my autonomy kind of thing, like, this is my place.
So it's like the instructions.
And that's why you'll notice that nerves usually go with arteries, like very close to each other in the body. Like they just go together, because that's the relationship that from where the vessel would know, the blood vessel, where is the body? It doesn't have a consciousness. Who is the consciousness? Is the nerve.
Wow. It's interesting that that it's like literally information, whereas then the blood it's not information, it's
nourishment.
Yeah, something else. It's fascinating.
Yeah. Well,
all right. Does anybody have questions? Sarah Ginsberg, you can ask your questions now.
Oh, it was just a comment. Mila mentioned earlier that because there is a limb, that's why people sin, right? They don't see godliness, and obvious, it makes a lot of sense. So I'm just wondering if I want to take it b'pol to my own life, when I feel a limb, when I feel like maybe doing this wrong thing, maybe things that are not so productive, etc. So that is a keilim right now, a concealment. So maybe the hora'ah is, I'm wondering, and maybe the hora'ah is just shine the godly light, maybe learn something, maybe. And it was a discussion we had in a previous class. So just a comment.
Yeah, because that's how you remedy. They say you don't chase away darkness with sticks.
Then comes the question, yeah, that I understand. And then comes the question, how do you create that light for another person that you see that he's a little bit in the darkness?
Oh, that's the river of change. You create your mental space for that, right? Because if you look at another Jew, right? Let's put it this way. What's the Rebbe's formula? When people came to the Rebbe, right? They felt enlightened. How? What did the Rebbe do? We might say like the Rebbe is light himself, right? Obviously, with all the Torah and everything in there. So people came to him, they automatically like a little flame in front of a, big fire. Okay. But then there was something else. It's how the Rebbe looked at every single Jew. If I'm looking at a particular child, or a particular human being, oh my gosh, he is so disgusting. How can he do such a thing? Right? What am I creating? Right? I'm creating a space where this thing could exist. I'm labeling it, right? I'm labeling, but you know what? Let me be honest. There is a reality why people label people like that, right? I mean, you know what I'm talking? I'm not talking about chronic negative people who think that the whole world is mashuganas, right? I'm talking about healthy people. Yeah, I mean, there is a reason. I mean, that person deserved this title, right? But where did he deserve this title? In the world of Asiya. He deserved the title of being a Ganav and this and da da da. Yeah, but then all of a sudden you see from the Rebbe's also teachings about, for example, Miriam Bas Bilga and all these interesting kind of people where the whole entire Jewish world thought that they were sinners. They are sinners, okay? And they should have acted differently. Things that there was never machlokes in the Rishonim and Achrayim about who these people were. I mean, come on, do you know? Like you have a chutzpah to marry a guy, like nothing else. You come into the Beis Hamikdash with him to see the destruction of your own people. Like hello, how low can you fall, right? That's one perspective of looking at things. And all of a sudden, the Rebbe took a whole new, interesting, and such an out of the box perspective on this lady. It's unbelievable. So the Rebbe looks at every single person through a whole new dimension. This is Eloki of Malchus, completely unveiled. He strips away every single klipa that's making that person to be looked like a sinner. So can you imagine to be looked at with the eyes of your essence? For sure you're going to shine. You have no other choice. So how does it work? Was a Rebbe denying the fact of these people's sins? No, he was just mabatal them. They're non-existent. And this is what Mashiach is. Mashiach is the essence. Okay? He looks at the essence. That's it. Once you look at a Jew with the essence lenses, you automatically strip them away. Now, are you taking away the Bechira Chavshis? Did the Rebbe take away the Bechira Chavshis of a Yidden? No. They choice. What are they going to do after that? They stepped away from the Yechidus. They stepped away from receiving the Rebbe's dollar. There were those who transformed their lives, and there was those that just put it on an ice shelf. We don't know what happened. It's our speculation how it really affected people who passed and what happened with their lives. But there's absolutely everybody, Goyim, Yidden, whoever walked in front of the Rebbe felt illuminated. Why? Because the Rebbe looks at every Jew differently. So now the question is, can we learn from this? Right? Or we could just say, oh, the Rebbe is a tzaddik, amazing. No, we can learn from this. Can we, on our scale, which is much, much smaller, right? Illuminating our families, illuminating, the world, the corner that Hashem gave us, our chelik. Can we use the same strategy that the Rebbe is using? I think as Chassidim is not can we, I think this is what we need to do. you know? So when I'm thinking about a particular individual that comes into my life, I have a choice to look at him as what he is showing right now, exhibiting in a particular way. Or I could look at it differently. I could look at it with the Rebbe's glasses, you know, and see something inner, or at least believe that that person has the inner dimension that could shine through. And when I'm refusing to look at him the way it seems to be would be the right way to look at it, I say, no, this is Eloki of Malchus, and that person's potential to be X, Y, and Z. I'm not stripping him away of his Bechira Chovshes, but I'm creating a space where they could be drawn to this energy from within. You understand? So that as adults, we could have this for our children. As leaders, we could do that for our communities.
Just a small comment, yeah. I saw in the Dvar Malchut of this Shabbos a whole sikha from the Rebbe, I believe it was from Lamed Hey, Tafshin Lamed Hey, about the people who went on Miftzaim, and they were hit, passing through Williamsburg, coming back from Miftzaim. And you see the Rebbe's words, wow. So together with all that, the Rebbe was very practical, and when things had to be criticized, he criticized.
There's no, the Rebbe didn't was like, oh, but you see, but in that criticism, okay, yes, we use chesed as a tool and a gevura as a tool. How many times throughout the whole Rebbe's leadership, where we see sichos and maamarim and interactions with people, how many times he actually used that language?
Not many.
You could count on your fingers.
Yeah.
Individuals who the Rebbe just was a full stark, right? I don't think you can even count 10 encounters, 10 individuals where the Rebbe used the languages that we refer to. So that's what I say to all my children when they bring all these things. I tell them, you know what? How about you're gonna? I mean, we how many years of leadership? How about we're just gonna focus on all that stuff first, and after you do all this, if something negative comes across your life, you could stern it in that way. Do you understand? It's like doing the surgical operation. You know, I mean, you just because you know how to cut your potatoes, it means you can really do, brain operation, right? We agree with that, right? So the same thing is, with the language and the criticism, what we want to say to people. Do you know what I mean? Like we need to know how to use the tool of cutting to know. It's like, the Frierdiker Rebbe's mashal about the nurse who was giving him, an injection.
Yeah.
It's like she washed her hands, she washed the area, and all that. And then, it was very precise. She didn't just cause him a whole, stripped him off his arm. It was precise. One poke out, and it's only L'To'eles when you know exactly which medicine to give, exactly when to give, and how often to give. When we have that precision so then we could use our criticism as a needle, not chopping off people's heads and arms.
Yishar koach. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So those of you who will, come in 1 hour, you're welcome. Those of you who will not, we'll see you B'ezrat Hashem after Pesach.
Yeah, so this is our last class until Pesach, and then we'll meet again after Pesach. We'll post when that will be. Okay.
I mean, Pesach ends like mamash by the end of the week. I know we start our school that Sunday, actually, right after Pesach, because Isru Chag is Friday.
Oh, well. So, okay, so it'll be immediately after Pesach.
Yeah.
That's
Thank you very much.
Many people will have Pesach. I don't know how many people will have chance to pack and unpack.
Try and do reviews so that we don't come back feeling like we have to start from the beginning. Svat Hashem, in between cleaning.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Your time and effort.
Bye-bye.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Much atzlacham.
Amen.
Hag kasher v'sameach.
Amen. Chag kasher v'sameach.